So you're thinking about moving to Texas from California, but you have some concerns. I had those same exact concerns when I made that transition myself. I have never lived outside of California my entire life. I lived there all 47 years. And to go from California to Texas was a major life decision. I know you guys have some questions. I want to get into that in this video. So before we get into the pros and cons of living in Dallas, Texas, I want to share my backstory with you. So I've been a real estate agent for the last 16 years in California. And this day I was really exhausted and I was driving, it was raining. I had just finished showing a house and I just started praying. And I said, God, I feel like I need a change right now. I'm exhausted. What do you want me to do? And in that moment, God says to me, he says, move to Dallas. And I'm thinking to myself, move to Dallas? What is there in Dallas for me? And so it was about a couple of months later, I decided that I would go ahead and take a flight out here. The kids leave, go to visit their dad. And I get here and I go to a couple places. A friend of mine flips houses here. So I figured, I would hit him up, him and his wife, and say, hey, what is there to do? And what areas can you show me? So we went to Highland Park, we went to Addison, we went to Salina, and went to some other little places and things like that. But I wasn't feeling any of them and I didn't quite know why. So as we're driving, we're getting ready to go over this ramp on pass type area. And I could feel the energy and I could feel this life inside of me. And I was like, this is where God wants me. Where am I? And he said, you're in Frisco. And he said, this is where the PJs move in their headquarters. I was like, really? I didn't know anything about Dallas at that point. So I get here and I start Googling because I don't know anything about Texas and I want some details. And I stumble upon the channel that you're on right now, the Living in Dallas channel. And I started watching the videos while we're driving around in the city and stuff like that. And I decide okay, I'm going to take this a little bit more serious. So I get back home, I put my house on the market, the kids get back and I share with them look guys, I think we're going to move to Dallas. My kids were completely on board. I was shocked because I didn't know how they were going to take it. So because they were on board, I went ahead, put the house on the market. And within a short amount of time, I had got multiple offers on my house. I sell it. And now I'm really concerned about the kids. We're going to go to school. And how are they going to be? How are they going to transition? My son has special needs. He has retinal pigmentosa. If you don't know what that is, that means at night he has night blindness. And so I was wondering, is he going to have the same services that he has here? Will he have a Braille teacher? Will he have a cane trainer? Will he have those same things? And then how are the kids going to receive them? And my daughter, how is she going to be received? We're going to be transitioning in the middle of a school year. So I was really concerned about a plethora of things. So after having my conversation with the kids, I kind of calmed down and was like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We've sold the house. I'm going to set up everything at the school. And I contacted the school and let them know about my son. And they had all of the services set up for him for when we got here. I couldn't believe it. The Braille trainer, the cane trainer, the assistant principal, all of them were there to greet my son. And as a mom, that just gave me relief. And relief for my son, relief for my daughter, because I was worried about her. Whenever girls go into the new schools and transitioning in the middle of a school year, they're already in the kind of their friendships and their cliques and things like that. But even her, she was really well received by the kids and the administration there. So I was very, very pleased with that. One of the other things that I absolutely love about living in Dallas, Texas is respectfulness. Southern hospitality, you guys, is absolutely a real thing. I'm telling you. When I got here, I was really kind of taken back by it because I wasn't used to it being in California. We're very laid back, very liberal. We're just very laid back, if you will. So when I got here, me, the kids, when they're calling everyone, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. I wasn't expecting and I wasn't really kind of prepared for that to rub off on my kids. So when my kids are now coming home, they're addressing me with, yes, ma'am, I did that, or no, ma'am, I didn't do that. So I was loving the respectfulness. So Southern hospitality in the state of Texas, you guys, is absolutely a real thing. One of my other favorite things about living in Dallas, Texas is that when you're buying real estate here, you absolutely get the opportunity to pick your lot and pick your house. California real estate is a little different because in California, if you find a house that you like, this is the house, this is the lot, do you want it or you not? That's it. Well, in Texas, you get to decide what lot you want, what house you want them to build on that lot, and really pick out all your features. So it feels a little bit more like a custom house, but we don't have that in California. So that's one of the things I absolutely love about living in Dallas, Texas as well. The other thing I really love and just appreciate about the administration and the school here in Dallas, Texas is the welcoming school that we have here. What I was surprised most about is that they would call me when my kids were doing great things. When my daughter, she performed well on a test, I got an email and then a call from the teacher later telling me that, hey, Miko wasn't here when we went over these concepts, but she did a good job and I just wanted to let you know. Or my son, when he did great on his cane training or he did great in one of his tests, the teacher actually called to let me know. And as a parent, that was refreshing because in the past, the only time I ever got a phone call was if something happened at the school. So for me as a parent, that was just, it was a breath of fresh air, you guys. So that was one of the other things I love about living in Texas is the schools. One of the other things that surprised me the most about Texas was the cleanliness. I mean, as soon as I got off the airplane, I noticed the airports, I noticed the side of the freeways, I noticed that when I was driving down the street, there weren't potholes. If you know anything about San Francisco, California, the freeways, the streets, they got potholes in them, you guys. And so I see the toll money at work here, which I didn't really see. I was paying tolls in California too whenever I was crossing the bridge. But here in Dallas, Texas, you definitely see that your money actually, that you're paying for tolls, that it actually goes to the tolls. I really appreciate that. For some of the cons here were not a lot for me, but one of the ones that I found the most for me concerning was the medical. They have great medical here, but being from California, we have Kaiser. Everything is all in one building. I can go to the eye doctor there. I can go to the specialist there. I could just go to the doctor. Here, when my son got sick with a cold, I literally was trying to figure out where to take him. And so I talked to one of the neighbors. They said, oh, right around the corner, they have a drop-in care facility. They have the cooks over there, and you can choose any of them. And I was like, well, what about medical insurance? And they said, well, most of them usually take whatever insurance you have. So for me, that was an adjustment because I was used to going to one facility, making a phone call, and just being able to walk into that facility and know that he was going to be seen. Where here, you have a little bit more freedom to kind of choose your doctors, where for most people that might be good, but for me, it's a little bit of a transition because I'm just used to that facility type environment when it came to medical. So for me, I prefer something where it's just in one building versus me trying to figure out where to go next. Another con for me living in Dallas, Texas was I was not expecting all the tolls. I'm used to being able to drive down the street, drive wherever I need to go. But if you want to get somewhere quick, you got to get on the tollways. And the tollways, they actually cost money. They aren't free. And I didn't know that. So I've been driving on these tollways and just racking up tolls all the way. So one of the cons for me was definitely crossing those tollways and not knowing that I was on a tollway. So that's another con for me. Another thing for me that's a con when it comes to living in Dallas, Texas, that most people don't talk about quite as much is property taxes here. Property taxes are very, very high. In California, I think I was paying 1.8%. And here it's 2%. I was not prepared for that. So that was, we hear about that there's no state taxes, which is great. But what I didn't know was how high property taxes were. So that was a con for me. But what you can do is homestead your property and make sure you have a homestead exemption so that your property taxes don't get raised. And the fact that we live in a non-disclosure state, I love that too, because being in a non-disclosure state, they cannot continue to raise your property taxes as long as you homestead them. Well, you guys, that is my story. Thank you for allowing me to come into your home and share my journey with you from moving from California to Texas. I hope you found it insightful, inspiring, whatever it needed to be for you. I hope you found the content, the information here for you. If you are in the market to buy or sell, you know what to do.